Hello and welcome to this very special interview edition from Irish Wrestling Entertainment and BodySlam.net. I'm joined by the one and the only, the ever infamous Tateness is Greatness, Tate Mayfairs. Tate, thank you very much for joining me this wonderfully sunny afternoon. How are you getting on?
Not too bad at all, thanks, man. Settling back down into the West London life. It's a little different from where I've been recently.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Like, listen, I think everybody who's following wrestling in any capacity now will understand that you've just been coming back from soft ground wrestling over in Uganda. Obviously, that's something that's hugely topical at the minute. The kind of notoriety and the kind of the fame they're getting for the work that's going on over there. Getting to Uganda can't be the easiest thing in the world to do. Like, it's not something you can decide overnight. Can you give us a bit of insight in terms of what goes into it, being like flights, visas? I assume there's probably vaccines involved in that, or even like getting accommodation. Like, I can only imagine it probably taking a week and a half to get there. Never mind turning up at a flight or something.
Well, it's funny you say it's not the kind of thing you make a decision overnight. In fact, it kind of was. I was like, I gotta go. Let me speak to the guy. He's like, all right, cool. Well, this date works, which is like a week and a half from when I had messaged him. I was like, all right, I'm booking tonight. So yeah, and it was after booking that I was like, I wonder what you actually need to go to Uganda.
Yeah.
Should probably look that up. And yeah, it turns out you need a visa and you need vaccinations and all the rest. And God, it ended up costing me a lot more than I thought it would. But there we go. I'm very glad I did it. You know what I mean? Like it was a very good thing to do professionally and personally.
Yeah, I can only imagine that kind of personal fulfillment you get from. I've done a bit of charity work in Africa myself. Again, it's an exposure you can't really relate to anything else. What was it like being on the ground, interacting with people, kind of seeing that passion they had for again soft ground wrestling, literally wrestling in the mud. Kind of the exposure they're getting just off their base, off their pure passion. What was it like being over there on a kind of one-to-one in human basis?
I mean, that was the predominant thing that drove me, man. Is like the passion for professional wrestling. I said it 100 times there, and before and after, I'll continue to say it. That's the main thing that I think that's captivated everyone. Really, is like we all love wrestling so much. It's such a unique thing that really isn't replicated anywhere else in entertainment or in the world. This like weird marriage of sports and entertainment all in the same thing. Live action, improv theater, and the passion for that is unrivaled out there, and I think that's why it's captivated the hearts of everyone. In terms of um being out there, man, they're also humble, and I'm not even sure to what extent if they're truly aware of like how loved they are and how big they are outside of their own little bubble. Because for them, they're just like orphans in a village that are just turn up to do this thing and get good at this wrestling thing that they love. Um, and not all of them have phones or internet or I don't really know that they truly understand how loved and how big that they are. And I think it's just the beginning. I think it's all going to grow, and
Mm.
I'm very excited to see where it goes in the future.
That's very, very cool. And like, listen, you've done some incredible work going out there, bringing exposure and awareness to them. You've also set up a GoFundMe page. Like, you tell fans about what kind of work to be involved and with the GoFundMe page and what you're looking to do off the back of it.
Well, listen, look, I know I don't have the same reach that NXM have.
Okay.
And, and hopefully I spoke a little bit with Will Ospreay, giving him whatever insight he needs before if he's going to go out there or not. But hopefully he does go out there. And again, if he goes, the exposure he'll bring will be far greater than what I can currently offer. But I did start a GoFundMe anyway. I spoke a lot with the promoter owner who's out there, Daniel
Mm.
Bumba, the whole time I was there, and he was like, "Look, anything you can give, anything you can sort out would be greatly appreciated, and will go a long way." And I saw the difference of how much a dollar like is
Yeah.
worth out there,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, how much a pound is worth out there, and it goes a lot further,
Yeah.
goes a lot longer way. I personally was able to buy a month's worth of food and like soap supplies,
Yeah.
etc. Um, a month's worth for all of these kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and uh, and that was awesome to do. And yeah, I know I'm not going to have the same. How much did MXM raise?
Couldn't tell you off the top of my head now, but
A lot, and it's
yeah.
done them great. And but the thing is like they need to buy the land that they're
Mm,
on. There's a
yeah.
landlord who owns it, and he's looking to sell it elsewhere.
Yeah.
So they need to buy that land.
Mm,
Otherwise, when that goes, then I don't
yeah.
know whether they'll go and do it. They don't have any like training or protection
Mm,
or stuff. And none of them have like really any gear,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
none have like on the safety level, none of them have any knee pads or anything like that. When I wrestled out there, I thought about it, and I was like, no, I'll still wear my knee
Yeah.
pads.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and like I saw things like the water and the electricity, like the power, cut
Yeah.
out entirely multiple times while I was there. And I would be told, oh yeah, it was like it was a very normal thing. And they were like, yeah, it's gone again. When it's back, we don't know. Sometimes it's gone for days.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. There's like mattresses on the floor. Um, there was one guy like sleeping in the shade, and we're like, what's going on with him? He was like,
Mm,
might have malaria. We're not sure. He's just gonna rest it off.
okay. Jeez.
Uh, all right. Okay. So whatever money we can give would help with
Mm,
like food and supplies. It will help them maybe go towards buying the land, getting better infrastructure in terms of like beds and dormitories, getting better infrastructure with the water and the power and stuff like that. Um, and what I do think, what also I gave as well as monetary value
mm,
and match experience and training. Um, I think that that wrestling thing is like if we can keep going over there and training these guys up and giving them match experience and giving them exposure and giving them new things to help them grow as a promotion, I think because there's really good talent out there, I think that in like a certain amount, it won't be long until someone breaks in the wrestling world from that village,
yeah.
and that will just completely change not just their life but the lives of everyone around them. And and again, that money that goes towards the infrastructure and the growing up of that will make
Mm.
that easier to do and make it easier to be something that can grow and have there be several kids who come out of there and go on to have much better lives than they would have currently been
Yeah.
laid out for them,
That's incredible. No, listen, you're doing unbelievable things, and we'll make sure to kind of push your GoFundMe page and across all of our socials. Really, really appreciate that. It's funny you kind of touched on there, like potentially seeing where they go. Like 20 years ago in Ireland, there was no wrestling whatsoever, and now you've got 5 Irish wrestlers on Monday Night Raw alone. We've only got a population of 5 million, so like it shows what a bit of enthusiasm, exposure, and being given a chance can do. So the work you're doing obviously is going to be a huge amount, and listen, 10, 20 years down the line, you never know what could happen. But just on the topic of like your own traveling, you are also a world champion. You are jet setting. You've been over to France the past couple of weeks. You've been over to BZW, Reeks. Tell us what that's kind of been like being a traveling world champion, particularly around the European scene, because a lot of fans maybe from Ireland might pigeonhole you or assume that you're kind of English based. But aside from your Uganda travels, but you actually are a European traveling world champion defending the TNT title.
Yeah, and let's not forget also last month I was in America too.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been awesome, man. Like, listen, I grew up a real fan of professional wrestling. It was always my dream. I remember reading Ric Flair's book To Be the Man, and I was like, man, this is gonna be my life.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, I'm living it out. I've got the world heavyweight championship. Let's be honest, it's been the one that's been most defended most times internationally than any other world championship in the last 14 months. And that's in the most part down to me. And yeah, I've got this belt and I'm traveling town to town, country to country, continent to continent, defending it, having great matches. How does it feel? Fantastic, and it feels right. And I can't wait to keep doing more of this thing and making it bigger and bigger and better and better and better. And this last trip in Uganda was just like another big like step on that journey of being undeniably the greatest. Um, the the fact that the first ever world heavyweight championship match in Uganda, uh, that's a huge one. Can't take that away from me.
No, absolutely not. Like that's something that'll go down in the history books. And I say you're literally are living your dream, being able to defend a championship, going town to town, bringing more exposure to new areas. Like huge kudos to you. And very few people who start in this endeavor ever get to achieve that type of success or get to achieve what they set out to. You also a couple of years ago you made your debut with NXT UK at kind of a funny point in kind of the terms of the brand, but also in the world. It's the tail end of COVID. Like you
Right.
debuted kind of started 2022. The
Yeah.
brand was in a space where like people watched it during COVID because without any audiences, it didn't seem to have a huge amount of focus on it. But also there was a huge amount of talents that have gone on to greater and better things. But you're brought in at the tail end. What was that kind of exposure and that experience like more than anything?
Yeah, interesting, man. Obviously, it's a lifelong dream, work for
Yeah.
WWE, you know. Um, that was incredible. In terms of like a company, they're the best company you could ever work for, man. It's so much better, managed and organized and everything is. But obviously, they got more money and more infrastructure, and that's the point about infrastructure we're trying to say earlier, right? But yeah, it's quite a funny one, like you say, time of the in the world of what was going on, because um, yeah, ironically, I'd wrestle at WWE in front of less people than I'd go wrestle in front of on the Indies, right?
Yeah.
Then again, it was on television, it was on BT Sports, it was in front of a bigger audience, and it was incredible, man. I'd love to go back. Like in the run up to that, I had been like in contact and talks with them for a couple of years, like done like a couple of extra bits, been in
Yeah.
adverts, been in background training scenes, been in training scenes. And then it built up to that and got to do that, got to be on the last 6 months of NXT UK. They said they'll do Europe. Like, we don't know what's happening with that right now. I managed to come back when last year when they were in the UK, they did SmackDown and Money in the Bank, and I was involved in
Saw that, yeah.
do some bits with them, which is quite fun. But then yeah, I don't know. I don't know what comes next with my journey with WWE. I'm always open to it, but like we said just prior,
Yeah.
these things that I'm doing right now with the World Heavyweight Championship and the undeniability about it and the way that it's being able to positively affect the world around me, is almost as big and as important. And I'm gonna keep. I've got like a thing in mind that I'm working towards, and it's on the same level as WWE and companies of that type. But it's not necessarily have to be with them. So I'm going to keep working towards my like goal and my passion and let that drive through. And we'll see who comes along on the journey.
It's funny, like even you look back on it now, Tate Mayfairs as a professional, as a performer and everything, you're 10 times bigger, more internationally known outside of WWE in 2 years that following, and you've grown in so many different ways. It's almost a slight contradiction. So I've no doubt if NXT Europe or whatever else comes on the horizon, you'll be one of the first people that's tapped up for that. You touched on Money in the Bank. I was fortunate enough to be there working for that event. And a lot of Eagle Eye fans would have seen you, or like Irish fans would have seen Damien Corvin getting snotted in the middle of the ring. How do those kind of run-ins or those spots come about? Do you get texted a couple of days beforehand, here, listen, get suited and booted, be here at this time? Or what goes into it? Like, are you in contact with people in WWE regularly? Because obviously they've got you in a watch list because they have very specific talents that are brought in for these type of things. What kind of goes into those shots?
I don't know exactly how much I'm going to say. You know what I mean?
Okay, fair, yeah.
Obviously, like there's, let's say, a familiarity, a working relationship with me, and between them. So that's it. In terms of like time, heads up, I can't remember. Everything in wrestling moves quick.
Yeah.
My life moves quick, man. Like, so I can't remember. Like, honestly, I have these things that happen and they're like wonderful things, and then like they just they come and go, and then as soon as it's over, you're promoting the next match, or you're making you know what I mean. So you're making your travel plans or your promotional videos, and you're chasing invoices, and you're selling. Like it's just go go go. This business. I can't remember, but I imagine it wasn't too long. I know I had to do another little medical thing just because that's part of the infrastructure, like how they do things before I went. But yeah, get the suit on, get down there.
That was very cool. Like for those of us who kind of follow indie wrestling in this part of the world religiously, it was something almost unique to us in the crowd because for a WWE event, you've got a lot of casual fans who turn up, and you got a lot of people who are invited along as press or media or whatnot. But for those of us who consider ourselves kind of UK wrestling fans, shit, there's Tate Mayfairs, there's Amy Corbin, there's Leon Slater. Do you know what I mean? It was really, really cool. And I was getting to see all these people on a national exposure. It was brilliant.
It's another little pop for us all, isn't it? Like I had that again recently when they did WWE Backlash,
Yeah,
and it's like I've been out to France a couple of times over the last year, and I got to see some of the great workers from out there and
yeah,
who I've mixed with get to have their moment
yeah,
in
yeah.
that sort of role doing the security stuff at WWE, and it's like it's a nice little pop, man. We all love wrestling. We're all like rooting for each other secretly. I mean, I kind of draw the curtains a little tighter than other people, but we all want the best for each other, and getting to see each other do things like that is cool. You feel like, yeah, I know you got a good payday, and I know that that was an important moment for you, and all the rest of it. I will say this one last thing before we move on from it. Like, when I was at thingy doing that, we got to do two production meetings, and like the second one, or for this segment, the specific segment we were involved in, and the second one was basically just us and the bloodline, and that was very cool. And they're good again, just like the boys. They're just another one of the boys being like
Yeah.
asking us what we're up to on the indies, and like saying, "Hey, don't sorry if I stiff you," you know. And it's wonderful, man. They're good guys. I look forward to working with them again at some point down the road. All of them lot absolute professionals in every way.
No, it's brilliant. I thought it's brilliant. It's so welcoming more than anything. The it's funny to mention Backlash. I was there covering it, but again, like seeing Kuro, who I've trained with, or LaRufa, I've done seminars with, seeing those guys. I was one of the few people kind of like, oh shit, fuck, I know those guys over there. But like, kind of suppose we're talking about the past now, but pivoting to the future. You've got a few massive things in the horizon, particularly in Progress Wrestling, the Super Song Style 16 tournament. You're facing Casey Navarro. You're
Mm.
also undefeated in over a year. Well, bar your this time last year with Will Ospreay. You've also had matches with Leon Slater. People could debate around as well. Listen, what can fans expect over the coming weeks with Super Strong Style 16 and being TNT World Champion heading into it?
Interesting, right? I saw a recent tweet of like Jay Apter and Lee McAteer saying like, "Oh, we've been speaking like something maybe in the works." I'm thinking, well, doesn't that marry up nicely? I got that TNT World Heavyweight Championship, and I got a little space on this one here for the Progress World Championship. Maybe Big Daddy Champ, two belts, Tate, walking strong, walking tall as the most important world champion in history in this country. And around the world, the realest, most legitimate world champion. Like that fits up perfectly, doesn't it? A whole year undefeated in singles action at Progress Wrestling. And you know what I was thinking as well? It goes back further than that, because prior to that match, my last singles loss um, at Progress Wrestling against Will Ospreay. But before that, the last time I lost was another half year before that in the final of the MPS, another tournament that we have at Progress Wrestling. And that was against Ricky Knight Jr. And I noticed that Ricky Knight Jr. is in the other side of the tournament. So I know I'm not going to, if I ever face him, it'll be in that final. And I think, well, wouldn't that be a great way to finally kill the ghost of the past, finally undo the wrong of the last time, other than Will, that I only lost twice in singles action in the last year and a half. And once was against Will, and he's gone. And the other was against Ricky Knight Jr. in the final of a tournament. This is just, it's coming my way. Let me tell you. Casey Navarro, he has had a fantastic effect and momentum growing with the Progress audience and the wrestling audience, man. He just had his TNA debut. He's going on to great things. He's in phenomenal shape. But the only reason he had his start at Progress is because he answered the call to be on my team, and I allowed him to be. I gave him the rub. Now he's enjoying all the luxuries, all the paybacks of being associated with me. But it's time to collect. Super Strong Style 16, 2024 is time to collect. So I'm going to collect that one back from him, move on. Whoever's next, I think it's TK or Eddie Dennis. Whoever's next. We could go forever. All the way to the final one. I don't know who's going to do well the other side of the brackets, but if it does be Ricky Knight Jr., then what better way to take him on in the final and dethrone the killer once and for all and go on. And then, like us or whoever's holding the title then, maybe Mark Haskins, maybe someone else. The future looks good for Tate Mayfairs. I'll say that much. I predict 2 belts, the real world heavyweight champion right here.
Listen, the future does look bright for Tate Mayfairs, and if you can collect from Casey Navarro, avenge that loss with RKJ in the final, possibly go to Uganda and face Will Ospreay, avenge that loss. You never know what's in the horizon. What other projects can you have in the horizons for the rest of 2024 and beyond? Obviously, you've touched on huge goals you've got in the back of your mind. You don't need to share those, but fans who are looking to follow your career from this part of the world, where can they keep in touch with things you've got on the agenda coming up?
We did just bring up Soft Ground Pro Wrestling once again. And of course, I've got the fundraiser, which we'll talk about maybe in a bit. And we've spoken a lot about Soft Ground already, but yes, I brought them their first ever World Heavyweight Championship in Uganda, but I'm also automatically in the final of their tournament. See, they're holding a tournament now because they asked me. They said, "Hey, look, I beat up this Jordan Lovering guy after the fight." And they said, "Hey, yeah, look, you want to fight? Let's fight me for your championship." I said, "Look, I've already gave you a world heavyweight. I've already gave you history. I've already gave you your first ever world heavyweight championship here in Uganda. If you want to fight me again, then come out with a championship of your own, and then I'll fight you." So they've started a tournament to determine the #1 contender for the first ever Soft Ground Wrestling Heavyweight Championship. Whoever wins that tournament is going to face me. So I'm going back out to defeat one of them. And so maybe I say 2 belts, maybe there'll be 3 belts. And let's not forget, I've also got a Rumble Wrestling All Nations Championship. So maybe 4 belts. That's what the future holds, I predict. Outside of that, like I've got my US visa. Legally, I can work in the United States of America. I've already done some work for GCW.
Yeah.
I've got some contacts and an agent out there and reaching out and trying to sort out a tour out there that makes sense. I could easily just go and like do a little bit in that, but I want to go and make the most impact. So we're just like formulating our plan to get that first tour, a beautiful big impact thing. So we're sorting that out. That'll be this year, maybe a couple times. And then there's a few other little conversations with some big prominent companies in the wrestling world that I am just going to keep quiet now because I'm not allowed to say anything. But like, I'm excited. I'm looking to take on every corner of the world. Brilliant. And I'm looking to make sure that it is an undeniable fact that even the haters, they're just going to have to swallow it, get down on a knee, bow the head, and confess that Tateness is greatness.
That'd be absolutely incredible. And listen, with the relationship TNT have with GCW, with Progress have with Defy, there's so many different opportunities out in the States. I have no doubt you make a huge splash wherever you land next. And just to reiterate, as we were talking about earlier, you've got a fundraiser and GoFundMe page live at the minute. You can find it across all your socials. I'll put it across all our socials as well. Again, can you reiterate what that funding is going directly towards us for fans to be aware of again?
So yeah, I mean, like I said at the start, hopefully we'll give the link out and it'll be there. Like I said at the start, like food, water, infrastructure, beds, medicine, training stuff like knee pads and stuff like that. And then I think they've already got the money now to get this van that's being in process, but money also to buy the land. So they can have that as a permanent base and continue to build and grow from there. That's what all of that will go to. I've set like a goal on there. I don't know if of 10,000, but I don't know if we'll reach it. Anything you can give goes a long way. The value of a pound out there goes much further than it would here. And if you like love watching like wrestling underdog stories and you love like changing people's lives, I think that again, anything you can give will massively help create the foundations for which someone to break out of there and then go on to do incredible things.
Aside from a wrestling level, just on a human level, what you've done is a really, really good thing. It's a really decent thing, and I hope you can get a huge amount of fulfillment for it. Listen, as you've articulated, you've got a huge amount of things on the horizon now, and I personally have no doubt by the end of 2024, leading into 2025, is your own words, the end of 24, every knee shall bow, every tongue confess that taintness is greatness. And thank you very, very much for all your time today. I really do appreciate it, my friend.
God bless. Thank you very much, man.
No problem at all. Thank you.